All right. I'm using a different camera. I know this one is not going to die out. So, time for a new camera anyway. But either way it goes, I'm going to let. But this offensive line, putrid. This offensive line for the Bears is just freaking putrid. When you get, I'm going to just, I know I did some other ones earlier, but I'm going to start this one over. But this offensive line is just pure putrid. Whether we talk about the things that this Bears team was doing offensively, whether we're talking about trying to run the ball, which really wasn't a success, whether we're trying to talk about a Bears team that was trying to get things going out of the pocket, this offensive line for the Chicago Bears was just so damn bad. And I mean bad. This offensive line was just terrible. Absolutely freaking putrid. I haven't seen, and I've been a Bears fan my entire life. Shut up. Take my ass to shut up. But I haven't seen an offensive line for the Chicago Bears that has been this damn bad in so long. This offensive line for the Bears has been bad. Tevin Jenkins, oh my God, is the best player on his offensive line. Tevin Jenkins is the best player on his offensive line. And when we're talking about a Chicago Bears offensive line that, honestly, if we're going to be 100% honest about this Bears line, nothing was done to improve it. When we're talking about Coleman Shelton, who's getting blown up by DBs and linebackers, Braxton Jones, who 4th round pick, Tevin Jenkins 2nd round pick, but has some injury questions, but he's been, I think, like I said, the best player. Talking about, like I said, Shelton Center was terrible. Nate Davis has been, I've seen plays where that man didn't block a single soul. A single damn soul. And Darnell Wright, for all he's done and been solid at right tackle, he got out athleticized today. When I talk about out athleticized, I mean, it just looked like Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson were just basically crossing over these 2 left tackles. It just looked like they was crossing over these 2 left tackles. And then we talk about Mario, and I said Mario Edwards Jr. that can affect the game. We've seen it when he was in the Bears uniform. Ball player. He is a very, so when we're going to talk about play and not really being like it's like I don't understand it. I don't understand for the life of me. You can get all of the Keenan Allens of the world, all of the DeAndre Swifts of the world, all of the DJ Moores, the Odunzes. You can go draft Caleb Williams, who has so much hype about him, and I'm going to talk about him at point in this video. And we're also talking about a football team with the Chicago Bears that did not do much this offseason to improve an offensive line, which we seen last year was absolutely struggling. This offensive line last year didn't protect well with Justin Fields, and nothing has changed. We do have a new scheme. We do have a new offensive Shane Waldron. We do have a lot of moving pieces in this offense. We have an entire brand new offensive staff. So the one thing that I wanted to point out to Bears fans that a lot of people is already saying fire Waldron. A lot of people is already saying get rid of him. A lot of people is already saying change the offense. This is what I am going to tell you guys. The one thing that I've warned you about, I've warned Bears fans about, is that everybody is going to want this offense to start fast. And number one, that does not happen much in this league. That does not happen much in this league, and this is why I'll tell you why. And I don't think this happens much in a lot of places, mainly in the NFL, because all the smart minds is coaching, number one, all the smart defensive players. Things don't hit the ground running right away when you have a brand new offense, which everybody is getting adjusted to. It's not like they're bringing ingratiating players within the same system that they've been running for a while. They're just getting new pieces. No. Everything in this Bears offense is basically brand new. We have a lot of weapons that are coming in brand new. Offensive coaching staff, brand new. Quarterback, brand new, and rookie at that. The only few pieces besides parts of the offensive line that we've retained is Herbert, Moore, and Kmet, and Mercedes Lewis from last year. That the ones that are playing major parts in this offense, everything is brand new. Then on top of that, you don't all those weapons that you get, the Bears didn't really do too much to improve the offensive line. Ryan Bates hurt. Coleman Shelton is basically boo-boo. Nate Davis is boo-boo. Braxton Jones, I don't think he's the left tackle of the Bears' future, and I think that has to be addressed, or he has to play better. He don't have to address that now because at the end of the day, we can't do anything about it. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about the Chicago Bears team, it is bad. The offense is bad, but I did warn you that it's going to take time for things to get going. And then we're going to talk about Caleb. I said with Caleb, he is going to make mistakes early in the season. If you guys go and look back at my Caleb Williams prediction video, I predicted and I said that he is going to make mistakes early. He's going to make mistakes early, and it showed tonight, whether it was throwing on a run and whether it was one particular throw that I'm really is connecting in my brain where he basically threw across his body when he had a lot of the right side of the field open to where he could have just took off, run, got a few yards, got down, but he threw across his body, and luckily it wasn't an interception. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Corey says, build with Jenkins, Wright, and everyone else has to go, and I absolutely, at this point, I can agree with that. Wright and Jenkins have been the two best players on this line. Everything else has just been boo-boo. And an established running game and Joseph DiAgostino, a rookie needs an established running back game, which is so true. A running game needs to be established, but the problem is this Bears offensive line, especially in the interior, is terrible. Center and right guard in particular, if I'm talking about anybody, center and right guard is terrible. You cannot create running lanes when you can't block solidly up front. We saw this problem last week, and we see it again. Now, we did see some flashes from Caleb Williams. We saw them. We saw the flashes from Caleb Williams that if he has time and he's protected well, he can make some good plays. Some potential I seen is there. It is. It's really there. The problem with this offensive line is that, well, it sucks. It really sucks. And you cannot scheme a good offense. You cannot create plays in your offensive game plan if your offensive line doesn't, number one, hold blitzes. Number two, identify and protect from blitzes. Three, your quarterback also has to help that as well. And he's young, so he needs some of the offensive line to kind of help him with that throughout the course of the game. Offensive coordinator help him with that throughout the course of the game. You cannot – your play calling is only so limited, and I saw a lot of people was talking about Waldron's play calling on social media, but he can only do so much when the offensive line is just not holding up. Yeah, he can have the great schemes. He can have the personnel, but if the offensive line doesn't hold up, What are you going to do? You're limited. And a lot of people say, I'm tired of the screens. Well, a good, well-performing, well-called screen game is a thing that can help balance a not-so-great offensive line. It can help. It also doesn't help the receivers drop the ball a few times. It also doesn't help when the offensive line or they making I remember one particular play where Kmet was pulling and was supposed to get a piece of Will Anderson Jr. and he got hair. He basically put a hair on him. And execution from this offensive line, execution from the blocking scheme, it's just not good. It's not there. And I don't want to spend too much of this on the offensive line, even though it was just bad. But when we're talking about the offensive line, I mean, you gotta call a spade a spade. It's not good. And this is why a lot of people gave me grief for picking the Bears to lose. That is why. I knew this Houston Texans team was a step up over the Tennessee Titans last week on both sides of the ball, even though the Titans had interiors and Simmons and Sweat. But when we're talking about this Bears defense defending this Texans offense, they did a good job. They did what all they. It sucks when number one the football and you have to defend, which they did a good defense and a position. And defense played well. Touchdown the whole game. They only had one touchdown the whole game. One. The rest were field goals. Whole teams to points, and a lot of those are field goals. You expect to where your offense can kind of balance that out. It shouldn't be put on the defense to covers and touchdowns every. Like this is the 2006 Bears. The way that these last two games have went. Basically 2000. Because if we're going to be completely honest with ourselves, this team offensively is miraculously changed on the things up. It could be another long offensive season in week 2, but it's not like we showed signs of improvement of line. We didn't. We size of an offensive line. And defensively, I really love how this Bears defense goes. I Sweat get out the quarterback. I'm loving what I'm loving. Edwards, Edmunds are flying all over the field. To me, at this plan, I think he's the. And I'm not saying that. I think he's the best corner in football. Because a lot of the throws that the Texans were really getting 9 times over the field, targeting more of Tyreek Stevenson in the linebacking core than anything. It's just, at the end of the day, I just really believe that this Bears football team as a whole is just not. Shout out to solid. I wish they quarterback, but good offensive line. This Texans offensive line is a very good offensive line. Very. So when we're talking about at the end, Larry, he doesn't. I don't think he's one that we have any. Laramie Tunsil is damn good. Shaq Mason at that right guard position for the Texans, damn good. So with this offensive line, that is a very solid one. You guys know I have some bias to him. Ohio State guy, I for 2 years at Ohio State. I watched it last year. Guy, he's different. He is different. Accuracy out of this world. Why he has that? I think it was like if I remember, it was like 200 of something games that he hasn't thrown an interception. Why? He's accurate throwing the football down the field. Stevenson got abused. Collins, Nico Collins, and you got to think Nico Collins, very good wide receiver. Tank Dale, this Texans defended well. They defended it as good as any team. And this defense is going to keep us in football games. It is going to keep us in football games. Basically, the game last week, along with special teams. And I just feel that this team moves out. Football games can like this. You cannot. I get it. This Bears team is young. Both sides of the ball, you have some veterans, of course you do. A lot of it is young, especially your quarterback. But a lot of your coaching staff is basically brand new. I had a feeling. I knew we was going to lose this game. I knew we were going to lose this game. It sucks for me to say this as a diehard Bears fan, but I just knew this. I knew we were going to lose this game. I wasn't too disappointed that we lost this game because I had seen it coming. It was the way we lost. I didn't see this offensive line being that bad, and I didn't see our defense had to do basically everything to even keep us in the game. The offense, we couldn't get out of our own way with false start penalties. We couldn't get out of our own way with holding penalties. We couldn't get out of our own way protecting our quarterback. And then we're talking about the Al-Shih Shahir fight. He should have been that should have been an ejection. I wish the refs really would have saw that. That was an ejection-worthy hit. Ejection-worthy. He threw a punch on the sideline, and he didn't get ejected for it. And I don't know if you guys probably know this or not. I'm not sure. You probably leave their comments in the stream or whatever. But I just thought you can go back and kind of review things like this. But they did say this in the broadcast that you can't go back and review if it's not a flag thrown, which I think it should have been one thrown. Not on the hit itself, because the hit itself, while, yeah, it was close, it was a clean hit out of bounds, it was just the punch itself. It was the punch itself to Roschon Johnson, who wasn't even in the ball game at that point. And the one thing that gives me, I'm not going to say gives me hope. It gives me it may be hope is the word, but I just know this defense is a legit defense. For us to hold this Texans offense to 19 points, it's just, it's crazy. My thing, and then another thing that I got to touch on with this Bears as a unit, and I love what they've done defensively. Excuse me, but the offensive thing is, and then another thing with this offense is that the Texans, I give the Texans credit. I give the Texans credit as a defensive unit that they showed something that they usually don't do. The Texans are a defense that usually does not blitz. And Caleb in this offense just couldn't beat the blitz. He was solid when he didn't face the blitz. It's just when the Bears the blitzes, it sucked. Thank you for pointing that out. Eberflus knows challenge. The Stephon Diggs challenge, I saw that in catch. You can kind of see that. You can kind of see that the ball did overthrow receivers. Shout out to KL Sports Talk. Caleb overthrew a few receivers. Offensive line atrocious. We're putting too much on the defense. That sounds so familiar as Bears fans. Everything is basically on this damn defense to do everything, and your defense can't do everything. And then another thing that we're talking about with this Bears unit as an offense is, like I said, it's going to take time for them to be. It's going to take time. It's going to take time, especially then you top of that, Keenan Allen. I think he would have been a big help with his route running. It would have been a big help with this route running. If he would have played, maybe they could have helped with his route running because he's one that we seen last week that he threw a lot of short routes too. And that's why I've always said Shane Waldron. A lot of people give him grief, but the way I watched that game was the fact of that offensive line was so bad that I really think that affected the way Shane Waldron was calling plays. A lot of what Shane Waldron, I think, the scheme-wise, the way he was adjusting, that in-game adjustments that coaches make, he was making a lot of those in-game adjustments because the offensive line just did not hold up. So when you see those screen plays, it's because the offensive line sucks. And when you see that offensive line is not blocking in a run game, you gotta find ways to get short routes and runs, but beat blitzes. So it's only so much as a play caller that you can when the offense of the football. Much as a play call, try to offset a bad offense. That goes to my investments in protecting Caleb Williams, protecting the running backs, blocking for the running backs, the heavier investments in that unit. And it comes crazy. Who is a offensive lineman? We're focused so much on getting another pass. On that, we didn't do anything with the. That's something I admit I overlooked. And as me being a former offensive lineman in some days, it's something I overlooked. Offensive numbers. Jones could be bad. Everyone that really believed to begin with. It's just compliment Bears team doesn't exist. The coaching team or the staff doesn't exist. I'll give the Texans credit. CJ Stroud, I knew he was going to do some things with his arm. I knew he was going to move around a little bit, create some plays. That shocked me. None of what the Texans offense did shocked me. None of what they did shocked me. None of what CJ Stroud did shocked me. It was just the main thing that I pointed out in my preview was that I don't trust this Bears offensive line enough for them to score enough for them to win a ball game, especially against the loaded Texans offense and a Texans defense that is a very good defense led by head coach DeMeco Ryans. So the game, I basically tossed this one up as just, it is what it is. I didn't think we were going to win anyway. I knew we weren't going to win. I just didn't, like I said, the offensive line was just that damn bad. sucked. We got too many penalties. We didn't run the ball effectively. We did slow the game. Field positions that we had on offense. We shot ourselves in the foot with false start penalties. We missed assignment. We shot ourselves in the foot with a lot of the Caleb Williams making mistakes. Caleb Williams underthrow. It's just this bad offense. It's interesting to see how this or can it change? I hope some continuity. This film, they get different things at the game. That's all you can. It's just learn from a game like this, especially as an offense. Defensively, what you could, the positions that you would put in, you only let up one touchdown to an offense that is a very explosive offense. Only so much you can ask of your defense. Offense, we weren't facing Will Levis. It does picks, not the football games, not losing. I seen it 2 years at Ohio State, so I'm not even too much. I'm not even angry. Herbert run a little bit, but this offensive line was just so bad we couldn't get much going. No matter, we could have had 19-13. I'm glad we kept it close. Field goals out of our drive. Finally scored an offensive, but it is what it is. Bears lose. I'll probably do these reactions kind of live afterwards. For maybe not in this area, probably full reaction do a, but I'll let you guys stay. I'll keep you guys updated as far as things going. But what time is it? 11:55? That enough. It's about 30 moves. I predicted it. We lost. Move on to Indy. Deuces.